take, I don't want to know anymore. I was going to do an outtake video, but somehow I screwed up. But okay. As you should be reading from the title, why did I start my channel and how do I research for videos and why they're the same thing? This is the process. I'm going to try to spit it out really quickly. Somebody asks me a question or I have a question. A question I've been waiting an eternity for. So what I do is I go look up the subject matter and just make a video. No, that's not how it works. What I do is I look up every source that mentions what I'm looking up. I right-click on my computer, opening all the pages. I usually have it configured to where it will not let anything autoplay. I always do, actually. I make sure it won't do anything annoying that way. I don't use sites that are notoriously bad. I've memorized them or can recognize them. I skip them. You know, if it includes Gone Sexual in the frickin' title, don't frickin' go use that video. It's probably crap. May not be. Sometimes it is useful, but most of the time, no. And then I read. I'll do keyword readings if the thing is overly long, more than 5 pages long, or 5 screens worth. I keep the screen font so that that's actually my upper limit before I realize I'm looking at a page that's going to take up too much space. I won't use sources that throw up advertisement or paywall scripts, or they're called fences or walls. And now we got the bird screaming. Next, I will filter out any site that shows an overt bias. I don't even read them. I skip them and I move them around by grabbing the tabs and moving them to where I ended up with the cream of the crop on the top, that oozing stuff on the top scummy layer. And then I go read it and find the least likely to be wrong statements. And then I look those up. After this layering approach, this layer caking of it, yellow caking of it all, I dig up most of the information that I have in my videos. And I could be looking up the origin story, you know, the history of something. I could be looking up the authorship, the veracity of it, or doing them all at once. I just do them all at once. There's something about the way my brain works that'll do this. This is not complicated. Most of you can do this. Some of you may find this interesting. But this is actually what I do. I end up with a set of statements, a stack of them, that are usually 4 or 5 pages worth of stuff if I do it wrong or if it's a really complicated subject. Either way, that's too much stuff to jam into a YouTube video that's 15 minutes long. So I grab all the text and I sit there and rewrite every single sentence by dismantling it by using the same methods you should have learned in school on how to deconstruct a sentence into pieces and then make them into short, choppy statements. This disconnects them from the original source, and I look for every duplicated statement because you're going to get them. So I have each statement one at a time using what's sometimes called special English, which is the extremely vocabularily reduced language that is used for international communications in English, usually for propaganda, coincidental enough. It's easier to understand, and it also requires you to do another thing. Every sentence has to be as sparse and completely rational and completely understandable as possible. It can't have any loops or turns in it. I then stack them up in an order that's either chronological or explanatory from gross to very fine detail, that sort of thing. After I do this, and I've stacked it all together, I will then read it out loud to myself while doing a YouTube video, even though I'm not going to post it. I call this the throwaway stage. Now, I do that on YouTube videos. When I do this for the website I used to dump things to, or any other data transfer, and in fact, originally I would do it as a comment to people, or a message to them because they asked a legitimate question, and here's your answer. When I do that, it usually squeezes it all down to a size that's really, really short, and then I just look up more data. The idea is to fill up half a screen's worth of page space with imagery, with sentences that are short and choppy on purpose that fit onto 1/2 of your screen this way. So that's 1/4 screen of data that you're working with. And then I chop it even further. I mercilessly edit the crap out of other people's statements to the point that you can barely, if ever, find out where I got it from, so I have to include the links. I'll also include side notes or assertions by people. I just don't bother crediting them, but I don't put them in quotes, and I restate them to where that they're understandable in their original context. After all of this is done, I end up with a big text file with a bunch of links. I then go through the links and clean them and trim them to make them as small as possible because of YouTube having a restriction of 5K bytes for description. Because I'm dumping a lot of junk in there, I got to compact it down. When, not if, that doesn't work, I run URL shorteners like archive.is. Archive.org makes them longer. That's a dirty joke waiting to happen. So, when I compact it that way, I'm able to get a reasonably good flow out of it. Then I read it as if some other idiot did it, because I'm the idiot that made it. And I try to see if it's easily understood and goes in a flow where it starts off with a set of assertions and then proves them in the shortest period of time. And then gives supporting examples dead last. Then I go back through, look for all the keywords. These are words that are not helper words like of, the, and, whatever. And I grab all the keywords that were used in the entire text, put it at the top. Then I look up the general subject matter using those words or just typing it in on YouTube and on the internet to see what else comes up, to see if I've missed anything. In the end, I end up with a stack of keywords at the top that need to be converted to a sentence of some sort for the title for a YouTube video. And this allows it to be found more easily. Sometimes I put it in complete nonsensical format. Then, I don't use the tags, because there's no point in using them anymore. I don't care if they're effective. I don't want to stick things in tags. But if I am going to do tags, I put each word or assertion, like Nibiru is fake, comma, instead of Nibiru fake or Nibiru hoax, although Nibiru hoax is preferable because it's shorter and simpler, and search engines recognize hoax and fake as being similar. They're similes, I guess. So, when I get that done, I can take all those with the commas between them, and you see some of my YouTube videos like that, throw that in the tag set, and it'll actually work. I don't use them anymore because I don't really care anymore to do them. It's just an extra step, and I think it basically makes the channel look more spammy. Next, I then rearrange them without the commas to make them into sentences if at all possible so that they're easier to remember. If you can say it as an expression, you can remember it a lot longer. Some of you will then remember this later and say you can remember it forever. Mandela effect. Or is it? Anyway, the reason is that there are certain logical processes in the brain of how we compact things. And I take advantage of that. I also take advantage of the fact that some people put up way too many variations to their titles on the same subject because they're trying to distinguish themselves, so I just end up making a jumble at the top so that people who are looking up those videos, if they look up a corroborating or opposing view, they'll find my video either way. The joke is, and this is the best joke I've ever heard about it, if two people are arguing over a subject, if they end up citing the same sources and arguing it, that means the subject actually has some controversy. If they don't, they're probably lying about a controversy. I don't know who did that. I don't care. I'm not going to put a citation for that. I don't care. Now, how did this end up being a YouTube channel? Okay, originally this started off with me making web pages, a specific website, which is linked. If you want to go look it up, you can go find it. That keeps getting torn down because they're like, give us money. No, I want a free site. Go to hell. My website got 4 views a year on some of the pages from bots. Nobody looked at it. Realized nobody's going to listen to me because they don't see it. Next, I got requests from people to do instant internet presence. Here's your presence on the internet. And I would set up a stack of web pages, Facebook, MySpace, whatever. Nobody does MySpace anymore. And I would stack them up, find a brand name-ish kind of thing or subject matter to where it would work great. Like if you run a company called Taylor's, but they make silverware, and it's Taylor's Silverware, I might say tabletop silverware Taylor's. would be the domain name and the name I would use. I would just use something that integrates it enough that I could get it distinguished and make them have control over this and have them all point to each other. The first posting on each of the pages and sources would be links to all the others after I made them. And I'd do the same thing. Make a list of URLs that I'm connecting to each other, find the keywords on those subjects for the customer, and title everything that way, and put a link back and forth by just putting all the links there. And in HTML, you can do a trick where you use Alt and title for a link, and all sorts of things. But that got me used to structuring things so that I wouldn't go insane. I can make a web page, just a burner page, just blast it out, where I cut and paste the text file and just put pre in front of it, or just let it flow normally. Making links I have to do manually because I don't use an automatic linking program. Now, when I did that, I'd get no views for my website. People are like, "What? Well, you're not an SEO expert." I'm like, okay, and then I tell them to look up a word and they'd find my page. Number one, I get 8 views a year, but if you type in that combination, the site came up immediately. And it will still be stuck there probably. I forgot which, I'd have to look up my notes on it. But this all started for me trying to figure out yes or no is something true. And getting really stymied by looking up things on the net, Wikipedia being a mess at the time. Some of the articles are so nonsensical it was scary, and they all do the same thing: expository talking bullcrap, going on and on for pages with no data. I hate that, so I squunch it down and make something useful for people. And I'm like, one of the rules in hacking: no problem should have to be solved twice. So I'd post it, nobody'd see it. Facebook, all the cross-referencing I did, nobody'd see it. Nobody cares. Then a customer said, yeah, I want to make a web page that has my work on it, and I want to have videos, blah, blah. So I discovered YouTube and other sources. YouTube was the least... Doing the videos on YouTube worked. All of the other sites, it was virtually impossible to do. The one thing I did know is I didn't want the customer to have to deal with their own website for video built onto their website. That's stupid. Let's just use a resource. And to this day, it's still a good option. You can just make the videos unlisted, embed them, and YouTube can't have them flagged. Perfect. But in the process of doing this experiment, I found out about YouTube policies and idiots flaggings, and I also found out that if I posted comments where I would do the same thing, where I would put in a short, terse, straight answer to someone's question. You posted a video that was in the form of a question. It's not Jeopardy here. Here you go. Here's your answer. I would get harassed. And I realized when I visited pages, these people are talking about stuff and getting actual responses. There's some engagement here. So I posted some videos. I don't even remember what my first video is. If anybody knows, please tell me what it was. The point I'm making here is this started off me making notes for me, making them into crib notes by compacting the hell out of them, including the links, then eventually cutting the links and eventually finding URL shorteners like archive, and trying to find the real origin story for these things ended up becoming kind of an obsession because there wasn't any sources for things like that. And that was my favorite method. Find where the source came from. If the original source was lying, you'd throw out the rest of it. There's no reason to try. And it made it to where once I got that shoveling method done that I've just talked about, that's what I call shoveling. It was really easily adapted to everything else. I've taught other people to do it. Now, on YouTube, oh my Shatner. Why do I do the YouTube still? I have videos that have the least amount of views on my channel that have 10 times the number of views on any web page I ever set up. The only exception these days would be Twitter, because Twitter feeds can become incredibly powerful for production and for promotion of something. But hands down, if I just concentrate on doing YouTube videos, it is so much easier to get it to where people have this information in their hands, they can view it, and I make it as much as possible to where they can cut and paste it without it getting broken, because YouTube breaks every damn thing, and make sure that all the URLs are permanent because I archive them. Not because I'm trying to do anything mean to anybody, dox them, or do a gotcha video. It's because I hate things disappearing on the net because that's so stupid. Hence the reason I'll archive a Wikipedia page in its current state, because I don't trust the bastards. Neither should you. Hope this has been informative, but this all started off me making notes so I could create a memory in my head that took up one screen so I could memorize it. Now I do 1/4 screens, takes up 15 minutes, sometimes it's half screen, it goes the way top and bottom. I hope this has been informative. I hope I haven't skipped any steps. If anybody wants any more details, ask below. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And I'm going to keep doing this, I guess.